Well, today also marks the 50th anniversary of Hurricane Celia making landfall near Aransas Pass. Meteorologist Alan Holt has a look back at the first major hurricane of the 1970 hurricane season.
August the 3rd marks 50 years since Hurricane Celia walloped the coastal bend with winds as high as 180 miles per hour. The storm formed in the northwestern Caribbean on July the 30th and rapidly strengthened to a major hurricane by August 1st in the Gulf of Mexico. 2 days after that, Celia would make landfall near Port Aransas as a Category 3 major hurricane and move in just north of the Corpus Christi Bay. Storm surge was as high as 9 feet in Port Aransas, but unlike Hurricane Hannah a little over a week ago, Celia would be remembered more for her strong and damaging winds rather than the storm surge. Sustained wind values around the Corpus Christi Bay registered between 125 and 130 miles per hour, with maximum gusts in Corpus Christi clocked at 161 miles per hour. Winds of 100 miles per hour reached as far inland as Mathis. According to the National Weather Service, about 70% of homes in Corpus Christi sustained damage, with that number rising to 90% in Port Aransas, where the storm made landfall. It is estimated that 252 businesses were destroyed and about 330 boats were lost because of Celia. The cost of all of the destruction came with the price tag of about $453.8 billion. While storms like Harvey have hit the coastal bend with great fury and destruction, Hurricane Celia remains one of, if not the most devastating storms Corpus Christi has had to endure. The 2020 hurricane season has been active to date, and we've already had a hurricane to navigate through. As tropical activity ramps up in the traditionally more active months of August and September, remember to stay prepared and informed if and when another storm comes our way.
Now that right there, that last shot kind of looked like Hannah in the aftermath of that. But of course we know, longtime residents know that Hurricane Celia was indeed just a storm that made you take hurricanes seriously from that point forward. Mr. Bill.
So we had Celia back in 1970, and basically not a lot. I mean, we've had our Allens and a couple of others, but then we've had the two in the past 3 years, and things are starting to ramp. We have a long way to go in hurricane season, Joe.